Hello, everybody, and welcome to the 10th round of LRC here in Monza, the Temple of Speed. My name is Coolest, and I'm very happy to be joined in the commentary box once again by Spinato.
Hello. We've reached double digits in the season. It's round 10 in the ever incredible Monza. I'm sure many drivers will be running the 0-0 wing setup, known to be the meta around here. But if that setup will make them spin out, we'll have a look at that in the undergoing qualifying session right now. We'll have 18 minutes of qualifying like we always do here in Monza, obviously. Known for its very long straights, as you mentioned, it is the Temple of Speed. And one thing that can happen here is that quite a bit of traffic can be run into Monza, and you've actually seen it in 2019. And in the last qualifying session, a lot of cars were trying to get going, but none of them wanted it to, because of the effect of the slipstream, which could be a factor in today's qualifying session.
Indeed it could, and we already have, of course, the cars out onto the track, the drivers as eager as always to get straight out there for what is shaping up to be a very, very interesting race today. Of course, if you were here last week, you'll remember we had a surprisingly interesting race at Zandvoort, where a lot of the drivers were, well, getting involved in battles and incidents, well, to be expected, really, I suppose, at a track like that. But yeah, going into this race, we heard in the driver interviews after last week's race that a lot of the drivers are feeling very confident and quite feisty, quite punchy, and looking to go for some good results here. So I'm expecting, well, I'm hoping for at least, a very good race today.
Yeah, and I mean, how can you not be confident? All it takes in this track is to plant that throttle down, be the most daring on it, and if you've got the lowest wings, then you could be a factor. You could be a factor in today's top 10, as we see very close to the track limits. I think that is Saul Goodman right here on his hot lap right now. Activates the DRS and into the tricky braking zone of turn 1, or rather the traction zone of turn 1. You have to be very careful, don't throttle, otherwise you'll find yourself in the gravel on the right there.
Yeah, it is quite a tricky track here. There's only 11 corners, but 11 very challenging corners to, well, it must be said, but like a decent start to the lap so far for Saul as he makes his way through the Lrc chicane there. And yeah, looks like this time most of our drivers have been able to get most of the numbers on. We can see that is not Lamano in the AlphaTauri, currently at the top of the standings. I think that is supposed to be Snipper, who is another one of the new drivers here. So yeah, we can let it slide. Of course, last week we had to actually turn off the graphics because of the amount of drivers who didn't actually have their numbers on, but we have all but one of them here, and we don't know who that is, thankfully, so we can push on, much like the Red Bull of Saul Goodman is pushing on with his lap, and he's getting a very nice tow from the Aston Martin ahead of him here. So he goes into Parabolica now, the final corner. Quite tight to the inside there. He's got to be careful on the exits. Very easy to lose the rear end, but it's a pretty decent job there, and he'll get the tow all the way to the line and will go second quickest.
Yeah, and that's the effects of the slipstream, as you can see. Pool Diver was the first one to set a lap, but even with the slipstream, that only puts him third. Shadow and Julian putting in very quick laps without slipstreams, I should mention. And Shadow goes top of the table for now, as we see an Alpine going for a lap as well. And we can actually mention, oh, Leland actually isn't here. I would have mentioned that this would have been Leland's home race, but I forgot that he's in driving for tier 1. It's now that Aston Martin finishes his lap. I think that's Arrow in P4. Also without tow. Very close to Saul Goodman's lap. Good enough for P4.
Yep, nice lap there by Arrow. Of course, our quite significant leader in the tier 2 point standings for Ferrari. He returns once again as a reserve in tier 1. I think it's his first time reserving since Austria? I'll say hesitantly, I could be very wrong on that, so apologies if I am, but yeah, good to have him back here again, and yet another driver who could be challenging the front of the field in this race, which is already looking fairly close. We have Shadow, who's got quite a nice lead at the moment, up in first place, got about almost 4 tenths clear of Julian in second, but Julian is heading round the final corner now, and he might be about to finish lap now. He's out of battery, so I'd imagine he's going to be back into the pits. And indeed you will, so yeah. race winner from last week makes his way back in, and I'd imagine most of the drivers now are going to be doing the same thing. We've sort of reached that stage in qualifying where we're at the end of the first runs, and everyone just making their way back into the pits and deciding whether they want to try and go for 2 runs or just go for play it safe and go for 1 run towards the end of the session, as my controller decides it doesn't want to go for any runs. So that's always fun.
I did mention home races, but a significant team that has their home race in Italy is obviously Ferrari. We also have the Imola-based AlphaTauri, and yeah, I mean, I think the Ferrari boys will want to perform. Obviously, Monza, their most iconic track, the Tifosi will be cheering them on for today's race. But it's looking like their competitors have gotten the best of Ferrari. As we can see, 2 Mercedes-powered cars in the top 2. And yeah, now they have to put on their best performances here. Cooper and Fiat Bona both. I think the last time I commented, at least, I think in Spa, they had pretty shocking races. Fiat Bona had a crash, I think, on the second to last lap, and he will be surely hoping to recover from that. And as you mentioned, many drivers coming into here are very confident. So, I mean, why don't we throw them into the top 10 contention here, or maybe even the top 5 contention? As Cooper wants to perform, and I think Fiat Bona is going to help him. I think they're both going to help each other to achieve the big spots that he can.
Yeah, as we can see, the Ferrari of Fiat Bona making his way around. Is he going to start a lap, or is he going back into the pits? No, he is going back into the pits, so abort submission. I think somebody else did just finish a lap. That was Snipper there in the AlphaTauri, going into 9th position, as we have the first of the drivers actually starting to come back out. As well, that's an interesting line through the first chicane there by the AlphaTauri. That's good job it's only qualifying. That would probably be an instant disqualification in the race, but tell you what, Aero got straight back out of the pits then. I tell you what, I'm not even sure if he did pit. He must have just gone for a cool down lap, because Aero goes second quickest, still 3/10 off of Shadow's time, so Shadow looking pretty good so far in the Mercedes, but Aero able to get himself provisionally onto the second row of the grid. But obviously, as you can clearly see, quite a lot of drivers making their way back out onto the track now, including our provisional pole sitter Shadow, who is about to start his next flying lap. So we'll see if we can ride on board here as he heads down the start-finish straight here, and the Haas of, I'm not sure which of the Haas is there, making their way out the pits. You will encounter a little bit of traffic here into turn 1. He locks up the front tyres just a little bit there, Shadow, but didn't miss the apex by too much. It won't help him though, because of course around a track like this, every 10th of a second is critical, and yeah, any kind of minor mistake can cost you a lot of time. As he makes his way towards the Della Roccia chicane now, he's going to try and hop the curb on the inside there, and somehow he doesn't get launched. I suppose they did alter it for this year's game, so Shadow clearly has a strategy for that corner, and it seems to be paying off at the moment. He makes his way through Lesmo 2 now, got to get a good exit from here. Can't be too soon on the power as he gets the DRS open now. Through Saraglio and down the back street, heading towards Ascari, probably the hardest corner on the track. See, left, right, left at full speed, flat out, full commitment, and just about keeps it within the track limits. No sign of any rear instability, so looking good so far for Shadow. He makes his way towards the final challenge of the lap. The Parabolica corner now, and just got to keep it clean on the exit here, make sure he stays within track limits, and I think he's actually going back into the pits, so no, he's not, just keeping a very tight line actually, and across the line. Can he improve? Yes, he can, so it was a good lap then, despite the mistake at the first corner, and Shadow improves his margin to 0.5 of a second.
Yeah, you could see throughout that lap how careful he was on the throttle, and even in Ascari, I mean, in the middle apex of Ascari, he was almost flat out through the entire corner, so he has got it all figured out here. As 6th gear and the foot planted the floor is all you need to get through Ascari here. As I think we're following Julian through his lap as well. Going into the left, right, left once again. The most, I would say, the most challenging corner of the track. No, it's actually recharging battery. I think on that exit, his battery was flashing for a bit. I think Julian's gonna be, Julian's gonna be trying to edge out Shadow for that pole position.
Yeah, I'm not sure what happened to Saul Goodman, by the way. I did see that he retired, but it says that he's in the pits, so either, I don't know, he might have some kind of genius strategy play, something 500 IQ that we're going to see in the race, I'm not sure, but either way, he's going to be, well, 5th at best then. Maybe the game is just lying to us. It may have been an actual accident for him, but here we go then, with Julian in the Williams, making his way out of the first two corners and not looking particularly good through there. There's a little bit of twitch from the rear end. It wasn't anything major, but just sliding it a little bit. He heads towards the chicane now. There's a yellow flag out here, and there's an Alpine spinning across the track in the distance. He's going to have to try and not let that phase him, as Julian, as he heads into the first of the Lesmos now. Keeps a nice line through there. And towards Lesmo 2, very tricky corner to nail, but nail it he does. Puts the foot flat to the floor, and with the DRS open, is going to make his way down towards Ascari now. We'll ride off board for this one, so you can see the sheer speed of it through here. Clips it to the inside on all of the curbs and keeps it. Yes, he does. Keeps it in the track limits, so exactly what you need there. And Julian has now only got one corner separating him from a potential improvement.
Yeah, and I think it's going to be a substantial improvement. He passed Shadow earlier on in the lap, maybe as a sign of him beating him. Julian also takes a bit tighter line right next to the pit wall. That's only good enough for third for Julian here, as I think 3/10 or now, yeah, 3/10 back from Shadow, and also Aaron in P2 in the McLaren, the standout performance. We haven't seen him in top 3 before. Edging out Lrc and Arrow as well from the top 3 spots. Lrc has gone pretty unnoticed in the session. He was second once upon a time. But now Aaron, 2/10 within Julian's time. It's a good performance from Aaron. I think this is his first race or second race. I don't know.
Yeah, it's his debut race here in Monza, and Paul Aaron is the full name. Unfortunately, some issues with the graphics means that's not being displayed. So takes on board the name of the F3 driver, and also takes his way back into the pits. That's not exactly how you say that, but we'll move on. Anyway, so one of the Haas is out on track. That is Maxcon, making his way down the start-finish straight now, down in 11th place at the moment, so he will be definitely looking to improve on that, as he was, I believe, one of the drivers who said he was feeling confident about this race, so we'll hope to see him further up the order by the end of this lap. Meanwhile, somebody who is getting up the order is, well, the AlphaTauri. Completely forgotten his name now, so apologies on that one. But yeah, he gets up into 7th place, so another one of our debutants, quite a few of them here today, as we have had for the past few races now, is looking quite quick here in the AlphaTauri, as we have quite a lot of drivers making their way back out onto the track now. Well, we still have quite a lot in the pits actually, but that will all change very soon because we only have 4.5 minutes left in the session.
I think that's Snipper in the AlphaTauri running the number 2 that Lamar was running. But yeah, when you said a lot of people in the pits, I think around the 3 minutes mark, we're going to see an absolute pool of cars flooding out of the pits. And that's not going to be very good, because they're going to be each chasing each other, and once they're going to be chasing each other for the slipstream. And let's hope that doesn't happen, because we'll just see an absolute a gaggle of cars racing towards the line like we did in 2019. That's now Max on boxes. Oh, there's one AlphaTauri.
That was, I'm not sure which of the Alphas was that. That was Snipper there. So just after setting his very quick time to get into 7th, drops it seemingly on the exit of Ascari. Only saw the end of it, so not exactly sure what the severity of the incident was like. But we did also see Maxcon aborting his lap and going back into the pits there. So the driver who is, well, I'm not sure, we don't know exactly where he is in the standings yet. We've not had those published from Zandvoort, but he will be fighting his way around the top 5. You'd imagine that's sort of where he's been the whole season. As now Paul Aaron retires from the session, and was that oversteer? I think that was just some oversteer there on the exit of the chicane for Blundy. It almost looked from the angle that we were on board, or that we were watching from, like he just turned into the wall. So, well, some major failures just gone on at the Alfa Romeo team, because that means now, with only 3 minutes left in the session, well, it's going to be incredibly tight for him to try and get back in the pits, get that wing changed and get back out. But I wish him the best with that, because I have no idea what just happened.
Yeah, I think it's a matter of planting the throttle down a bit too soon here. It didn't look like oversteer particularly, because I guess it was just a bit of wheel spin. There was nothing to oversteer from, so I guess it was just a bit of wheel spin. He dropped it in the traction zone, and that just sent him into the wall. But now here we have a few cars, not a lot of cars. We see 1, 2, 3, 5 cars on their out laps right now, and I think many more actually on their actual hot laps. So we'll keep up with everyone, and the two contenders for pole, we see Shadow and Julian, both on their out laps, trying to fight for pole. It's Paul Aaron actually just retiring from the session.
Yeah, I did. I did notice that. I was about to mention it before the Blundy incident, but yeah, Paul Aaron retires from the session from second place. I think that was in the pit lane, so clearly there seems to be a bit of some kind of a strategy to go on to try and save tyres here. But here we go then. 2 minutes left in the session, and this is the well, it's not quite the same procession that we saw in F1 a few years ago, but everyone making their way around now as one of the Ferraris goes back into the pits. That's Kvyat Bonner. So at the home race for Ferrari, it's going to be starting 14th at best here as Kvyat Bonner, so it's going to be pressure on for Cooper now. But here comes Aero down into the first chicane, locks the front right tyre a little bit, but keeps it to the apex. As you can see, yet another gaggle of cars. Seems like everybody's sort of split into two groups here, with the first guys going with about 2 minutes left, and then the rest of them will go with about 30 seconds left by the looks of things. So Aero is going to get a bit of traffic here. Passes Smully in the Williams as he heads into the Lrc chicane now. Gets it nicely over the curbs. Doesn't take as much as Shadow did though, if you remember from a few laps ago. And that might be where Shadow is gaining all of his time. I wonder if he's running perhaps a higher ride height than everyone else just to be able to hop that curb. Either way, doesn't seem like anyone's able to match it. Aero though looking good through the middle sector there, not getting held up too much by the traffic as he makes his way towards Ascari now. Got to be full commitment through here. And oh, he's a little bit wide of the first apex though. That is not going to help him at all. He's going to lose quite a lot of time from that one. You can carry so much speed through there, but Aero had to scrub off quite a lot to make sure he stayed within the track limits, so he'll be bleeding time all the way to Parabolica now, and it might be quite a tricky task for him to make up any meaningful time here.
Yeah, it was looking very understeery into the Lrc chicane, and I think that going wide into Ascari, I think that's what ended his lap. Can he improve though? And yes, he has improved into P4, but that's a relatively slight improvement as Julian goes second. Can't beat Shadow, which looks really good for Shadow. That looks like provisional pole for him just now. Cooper improves to 8. The Ferrari man trying to put it all out on the track in his home race. Unfortunately, can't make it count, as now the Ferraris are running 8th and 14th respectively. I think the Haas's are running a slipstream there, as now one of the Haas's jumps the curb, and there's a spun Alpine actually. I think that is out of, where is that? That is out of Parabolica. Yeah. That's an interesting place to spin. Yeah.
That was Sundray, who's just gone around there, but yeah, nobody else is going to be able to start a lap time now, so basically this is everybody's last lap, and I'm not convinced that, I don't think there's really any drivers on a lap. We do still have, we have Snipper here. He's definitely on a lap as he exits Ascari now, so currently still P7, and nobody's really been able to make any kind of improvements there towards the end. Aero did jump up one place to get ahead of Loris, but it looks like it's going to be a fairly tame end of the qualifying session by LRC standards, although as I say that, round goes the AlphaTauri of Snipper, and well, if he was about to gain any places, he's not going to anymore. Drops it on the curb, or well, on the paint really, on the exit of Parabolica there, and is going to lose all the time that he might have been about to gain, so it will be, well, actually 8th place at best, because I think his teammate, Flevo, has just jumped up into 6th place.
Yeah, and he got bussed by the highest speed Mercedes.
Oh, as Loris goes
backwards across the line.
Sorry to cut you off, but Loris jumps into 3rd place. Oh my gosh, we've had a almighty crash of the line.
Oh my god, monumental!
I don't like to see that, but that will be the end of qualifying then. So Shadow is going to take his second pole position of the season for Mercedes. He got the first one in Silverstone, and he's going to get a second one here in Monza at the Temple of Speed, where Ferrari have, unfortunately for them, not had the best luck there, not being home favourites, and dropped down to, well, they're only 9th and 15th, so we'll have to hope for the Tifosi's sake and for their sake, their safety leaving the circuit, that they're able to have a better race than that one. But yeah, it will be Shadow from Julian takes yet another second place after he also took second last time out, and this time it's Loris in 3rd place. So the top 3 from last race get reversed for this race. A quick run through the grid order first. So Paul Aaron on his debut gets 4th place for McLaren, and Aero in 5th, reserving. We did say he'd be towards the front of the order, and he is predictably right up there. That mistake will have cost him a bit of time though, so we'll have to see if his race pace is actually better than that. And if it is, then it might make for quite an interesting race with him starting in 5th. Then we have the 2 AlphaTauris qualifying very well in 6th and 8th place, split by the Red Bull of Saul Goodman in 7th. And then it's Cooper in 9th, and Blundy rounding out the top 10 in P10. See if can we get any angle of the lights? Yes, we can. So from the back of the field, we'll have to watch this then. There it is. All right. So 5 red lights in Monza. And we are go for the Italian Grand Prix here in LRC. Who's going to get a good start? Well, it wasn't Shadow. He's got terrible wheel spin off the line. Julian gets a great start and immediately gets into the lead. Meanwhile, Lrc is going to get hit by Shadow as they go towards turn 1. 3 wide and up the inside goes Paul Aron there. Chaos down at the first chicane, as we so often see here in Monza, and changing places everywhere. Julian comes out of it in the lead still after being barged into at the first corner, but it's Lrc now up into second place. The McLaren of Paul Aron drops down to 6th. And, well, it looks like a lot of drivers have managed to make it through, but I'd imagine quite a lot of damage for people there.
Yeah,
as round goes to Alfa Romeo and Chaos ensuing now up at turn 5 here. As well, it's not over just yet. The still first lap shenanigans continues on. That's the Ferrari of Cooper dropping. We started 9th, now 19th here as we make it to turn 7. The drivers sort of banking tyres as they make their way through the middle sector of the lap. Another one of the Ferraris, that's Kvyat bonnet off now on the exit of Lesmo 2. There's just cars all over the place at the start of this race here. As well, it looks like the front drivers have just completely broken away into their own separate field. The top 7, you can see how big the gap is from Aero down to Blundy in 8th place, and everyone's still just, well, fighting for survival at the start. As one of the Ferraris gone round. Is that Cooper? That is. It's Cooper in the Ferrari, drops down to the back of the field, spinning out on the exit of Ascari, and that has been a terrible start for the home favourites.
Yeah, that was a horrific start for the Ferraris. Off of the line, that was a really bad start for Shadow, who just couldn't get the grip off of the line. That is what the mediums will give you, and he hasn't got that. He was basically on the grass going into turn 1, as many cars were going 4 wide into turn 1, so I was not surprised to see these kind of moves being put up into turn 1. I think one of the McLarens actually went very hot into the start, and now Julian, I think he had to go across the track, which is why you see that 10-second time penalty right now as they go side by side into the Curva Grande.
It's it's the other Williams of Smolly fighting it out with the Alfa Romeo. The Alfa Romeo is going to come off worse there. That is Blundy. No, that's Bablo. Sorry, that's Bablo dropping down the order and spinning out, much like Sebastian Vettel did a few years ago on the inside of the Lrc chicane. And well, it's impossible to say whose fault it was just from the onboard there, but chaos ensuing at the start of the race. It is a incredibly tight and narrow track here at Monza, which, when combined with the high speeds, is not good. As round goes Shadow in the Mercedes, struggling with the high speeds himself, and Mr. Bad Luck himself strikes once again. It's on lap 2 of the race, so he's going to have plenty of time to try and recover, but he drops down to 14th, make that 15th, make that 16th, as the Alpha Tauri goes past him as well, and Shadow, his bad luck just continues to get worse.
I think I saw a battle for P3. I think Paul Aron has actually got P3 from Flevo right here. They're very close together, and Aron just managed to jump him, I think, into the Parabolica. Aron's up
wide's
to
got the
P3
AlphaTauri. AlphaTauri goes wide at turn 1. That's Flevo. Just goes deep, and Saul Goodman's going to get through up into 4th place now as well, as we've had quite a few people into the pits, I believe. And yeah, now the chaos, well, still goes on. Onto lap 3. Julian, of course, he does have that massive time penalty. So the fight for P4 is still going here. P3 even. Sorry, no, it is P4. And Flevo has got it back into the Lrc chicane. And now Saul Goodman is going to come under pressure from his tier 2 teammate Aero, who's going to try and go round the outside at the first of the Lesmos. They're still going to be side by side into Lesmo 2. It's the better tyres for Saul, but that is not going to be enough for him to hold the position. And Aero gets through into P5, so nicely done by him. And now Blundy, who is, well, so far back on lap 1, has immediately been able to catch up to the back of this battle and has got basically front row seats to see these 2 Ferrari teammates, ironically enough, from tier 2, fighting it out to try and make up whatever places they can. As I think somebody's gone round there. Terrible timing from a controller. No, nobody's gone round, just timing screen's lying to us there. But yeah, all seems to be finally starting to calm down in this race. But as I say that, you can see that is Pole Diver going for a move around the outside of Parabolica on the Red Bull of Jarman. As Flevo spun, or is he in the pits? I'm not sure. No, I think was that another mistake from Flevo? I can't even tell at this point. Somebody's just dropped down the order, but one of the AlphaTauri, yeah, it is Flevo. So what is even going on in this race?
No, I don't know. I think Flevo spun, or he might have retired in the pits, or he might have entered the pits. I have no idea what's happened. But into turn 1, I think that's Paul Aron. Yeah, but that's Paul Aron following Lrc, following Julian as well, and Now that's the second McLaren of Racer following Kimi, and behind him is full pool diver as we see an absolute pack of cars fighting each other for P8. I think that is. Smalley's leading this pack, and Kimi is hot on
My
his heels
controller's just
as
completely
Racer
given up.
also tries to get that P9 spot. And there's also a fight for P1 as Lrc is 5 tenths behind Julian,
Yeah,
and
he's been
DRS
closing in.
is in effect in this lap. And look how close Lrc is.
Yeah, he's been reeling him in this whole time. I was trying to keep an eye on it. My controller's just taken a bit of a break there for the first half of the lap. Hopefully we're all good now because we have a battle for the lead on once again between Lrc and Julian. It's picking up where it left off last time in Zandvoort, and these two are going to go at it once again. Both of them have penalties, especially Julian with that 10-second time penalty after having to straight line this first chicane that they're heading towards now. And is Lrc going to try and go for the move, or is he just going to wait in behind because he knows he has the penalty advantage? It looks like, for now at least, he's going to try the second of those ideas and just be patient and try and, I'd imagine, probably try and get towed along by the Williams if Julian's pace is quick enough.
Yeah, I don't think Lrc is gonna stay behind. I think Lrc wants to get him out of the way as soon as possible. Obviously, the tow is gonna work its magic for a bit, but I think Lrc just wants that clean air as to not damage his tires for too long. As now Aaron's getting influenced by the tow that Lrc is having. He's dropping back, even though he has the fastest lap. He's not necessarily quicker. As now Aero is looking to make inroads on the top three, and behind Aero is Blondie and Sol. Blondie actually made up positions. He's now between Aero and Sol, between the two Ferrari teammates, and Sol is hot on Blondie's heels. He's gonna go for a move, I think, into turn one. He's not gonna be daring enough to make it into Ascari, but here comes Lrc on the second lap in a row. He's gonna switch on that DRS, and I think we're gonna see a move soon enough into turn one.
Yeah, it's quite a similar gap to what it was last time around. We'll have to see if Lrc maybe decides to deploy a little bit more ERS than DRS and see if he really does fancy the move, as the AlphaTauri's further down the order, swapping places. Both of them have had a pretty torrid time in this race. They both started 6th and 8th, and they're now fighting it out for P14 as Lrc not close enough to make any kind of moves into turn one. So these two, the only drivers in the field, might I add, with penalties at this stage. So yeah, they're going to have to try and, well, I don't even know what Julian can do. Lrc at least the damage isn't too bad for him, and with that in mind, he will be trying to, I'd imagine, trying to get past the Williams and just try and make use of the clean air, but he knows that the second he gets past, he'll just end up engaging into a scrap with the Belgian driver, and that could end up costing them both times. So a bit of a predicament for the Haas driver at the moment, but I'm sure he has, well, he's got plenty of experience, so he will, I'm sure, be using that to the best effect that he possibly can to try and decide what to do in this scenario. Of course, both of them on the same tyres. There's no real way to gain a strategic advantage, at least not yet in the race. We may see an undercut or an overcut later on coming into play, but that won't be for a while yet. So Lrc, if he wants to get anything done, it will have to be on track.
Yeah, and Aaron's receiving a bit of a tow from Lrc right now. As you can see, he's looking ever closer and closer because I think Lrc is getting held up a bit by Julian here. He was behind me in qualifying, but I think as in the race, with the car all loaded up with fuel, I think Lrc is quite a bit quicker. And now it's 5 tenths or 6 tenths separating them as he flicks the DRS open. He's obviously not going to go for a move just yet, maxing out the reps in 8th gear. But yeah, he's not going to go for a move. He's not daring enough. And I think Aaron is looking ever closer here. And I think Lrc will have to make a move at some point. As we see a Mercedes very close to the McLaren. I think that's Shadow and Racer.
It is Shadow trying to make amends. He's already managed to get up 5 places into 11th, so very solid recovery drive by him so far, and he's looking to keep that one going now as he's going to try and go for the move round the outside of Racer through the Curva Grande. It's quite bold stuff from Shadow, but he's going to have the inside into the Della Roccia chicane now, and he's going to make the most of that with his with a big snap of oversteer there. Not looking particularly stable, that car, so I wonder if might have picked up some underfloor damage or something from, maybe the reason he spun was from running over the curb. So, well, we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, he's been able to get himself back into the top 10 in this race now, and will continue his charge forwards. Meanwhile, Smolly and Maxcon fighting it out, and Smolly actually getting the move done to get ahead of the Haas driver.
Yeah, good move by Smolly, and Arrow's got himself detached from the people behind him, from P5 and P6. Blondie's 2.5 seconds behind him, as Sol is looking to make a move on Blondie. I think that's one of their Hasses. That's Maxcon and Smolly, actually. He's got the DRS open. He's not daring enough to make that move on the Williams driver. Not close enough. Maxcon
He's going to be close enough now, though.
But there is another. Oh, there you go.
And into turn 1, Maxcon's going to have the outside. Smolly tries to close the door. They get oh so close to contact through the first chicane there. Just about keeping the bare minimum of respect up for each other. And that means that they are going to stay clean through the first chicane. But Maxcon not going to give it up that easily. He's going to try and fight it back round the outside of Curva Grande and heading towards the next chicane now into turn 4. The Haas driver is going to get that place back and get back up into P7 ahead of the Williams driver. But Smolly is going to immediately have the DRS the second they get back onto the next straight, so we'll have to wait and see if this fight is actually truly over just yet, or if the Dutch driver in the Williams has got anything left in the tank to try and fight it. But he has dropped back a little bit now, and I wonder if those medium tyres might just be helping Maxcon out a little bit.
Yeah, one of the Haas has gotten past the Williams, and I think the second Haas has to also get past the Williams. It's going to be Lrc with DRS for Julian. As you can see, he's very close right now. He's going to flick the DRS open. I think this has a very high chance of the move happening right here. And yeah, that move is going to happen. Lrc has the DRS. He breezes past into turn 1. Julian's not going to fight it back just yet, but Lrc is going to hold the pack up for a bit. He's going to hold the top 3 up for a bit. As now Aaron's looking very eager to join this battle. As now Julian and Aaron both are going to have DRS, and the Mercedes of Shadow, I think, is going to be
that's too close and contact into turn 1 with the Mercedes of Paul Diver and Smolly, and that has just spun out the Williams. Smolly was doing so well in this race, and he's going to drop now all the way down to 16th. That's such a shame for him. He had a tricky race last time out and crashed out towards the end of it, and now he's just got to wait for the whole field to get through. It's so tight at that first chicane. There's, well, pretty much nothing he can do there. And oh, and a big accident there at the that's a Curva Grande, is that? And Paul Diver just out of the race, and that is going to be a safety car. I saw him and Flavo were fighting it out on the timing screens, and we have a safety car deployed now. I honestly have no idea what just happened. It seemed like almost just got teleported across the track or something, because, well, Flavo's nowhere to be seen in the AlphaTauri. You can see he's sort of gone off up the road, so I'm not sure if there was an issue with the timing screens or what there, but either way, Paul Diver, for the second race in a row, is out of the session, and that has brought out an early safety car, and this is exactly what you were saying. This is perfect for the medium tyre runners.
Yeah, it was very reminiscent of Pierre Gasly's incident, Paul Diver right there. Just out from the Curva Grande, just right into the wall, seemingly nothing being the cause. As we see 4 drivers so far diving into the pits. Aaron on the mediums. I think that was the best choice that he could have made. From the mediums to the hards until the end of the race. That looks very, very strategically sound for Aaron to continue like this. As I think Shadow's actually pitted for the hards again. Oh, Shadow actually hasn't pitted.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Julian pitted for the hards. Or actually, no, Julian pitted for the mediums because he started on the hards. And there's a battle on the safety car.
That is Snipper has gotten ahead of Paul Aron exiting the pits, so there's now going to be an AlphaTauri in between Julian and Paul Aron there. As well, now Paul Aron's just going to dive it back up the inside into the next chicane. So the yeah, that was obviously never going to get away with that one. But I would imagine just showing his discontent with with Snipper there, who's just effectively put a bit of a roadblock in between Paul and what was looking like a very good position in this race. As Julian, he has pit, but he has pit onto mediums, which he's going to be hard pressed to take those to the end of the race, you would imagine. I mean, we saw this in this race last season. If you remember, we had a bunch of the hard tyre runners actually getting punctures towards the end of the race. I remember Iggsy's had a puncture, and then a couple other drivers with the tyres completely dropping off a cliff, and that was on the hards. So Julian is going to be in for a real difficult end to this race here if he's not able to manage those medium tyres, but I would have to imagine that he's going to have to go to the end, because what I did also notice is he wasn't able to serve any of his 10-second time penalty, so that means that penalty will be there at the end of this race, so he needs all the track position that he can get now.
Yeah, and I think if I had to point everyone for the race win, point out anyone for the race win, I would say it's Aaron. I mean, he's got the fastest half of the race on the mediums, and I don't think why he wouldn't carry that pace onto the hards. Obviously, the change in tires is very minimal in Monza. Obviously, you need some of the grip for the traction zones, but I think on the straights, I think there's because the track has a lot of straights. I think the tire change is going to be minimal to none for Aaron. I think it's gonna feel like the same tire basically as he sets another fast lap on their safety car. As now the top three looks very decent right here, in decent situations. But Loris hasn't pitted interestingly enough. He wants to go a bit longer on those hard tires, which I think is the better decision to make. Even though there is a safety car, I don't see Julian stretching out 17 laps on those mediums.
Yeah, it's going to be a real challenge for him, but if he is able to pull it off, he will gain that pit stop advantage on Loris, unless there is another safety car, in which case Julian is going to get quite massively screwed over, I'd imagine there. So, well, it's going to be an interesting one, however this does play out. I imagine the safety car is going to be out for at least one more lap yet, because obviously a lot of the drivers still haven't actually made their way onto the back of the train yet. And yeah, just going to take this chance to run through the order whilst it's able to stay the same for a few laps here. So we do have Loris from Julian and Snipper in the top three, with Paul Aron 4th. Aero still playing it quite solid in 5th. He's sort of been one of the quieter drivers in this race, just been minding his own business, and if he does continue to do that, well, we did have an Aston Martin on the top step of the podium here last year, and well, he might just end up in a good place to do so again, but he is another driver on those medium tyres, so we'll have to see how it turns out for him. Then we have Blundy in 6th place, Soul in 7th. Good start for both of those. Well, still held position, and then good start from Blundy to get up into 6th place. Maxcon in 8th will, I'd imagine, be looking to improve on that. Flavo down in 9th has been able to make his way back up the order a bit, so well, it was looking quite dire for the AlphaTauris earlier on, but they've both recovered well, so fair play to them on that. Jarman in 10th place. Shadow only 11th, so damage not too bad, and he does have... I noticed he did... stop a lap later than everyone else, so he will have slightly fresher medium tyres at the end of this race. Whether that was a strategic call or not, we'll have to wait and see. But if it is, then it might just end up working out very well for him. Yeah, we will have to wait and see. Then we have Smully in the other Williams car, down in P12 after that spin. Luckily the safety car has bunched up the field, so if his pace is able to be what it was like before the safety car, then hopefully we do get to see him further up the order. Kimi down in 13th place in the first of the Aston Martins, or sorry, the second of the Aston Martins, and then it's the two Ferraris at their home race, not doing too well at the moment, but it's like, you know, it's, how the saying goes, I suppose, is only up from here. The 14th and 15th can't get a whole lot worse than that, so let's see if they can make their way back up the order on the restart.
Yeah, and I think they can. I mean, if Kvyat Bona just tows Cooper along, or if Cooper tows Kvyat Bona along, I think they could get anywhere if they want to. Kimi looks like their next target, and they only have to work up from there. As the safety car does get the message to go into the slump, the lights go out, and now it's up to Loris when to go. That's his decision. On the hards, he's going to be on the older hards. He's going to be with a tire disadvantage to every car, basically every car behind him, as Aaron has to dispatch the AlphaTauri before he can challenge for the top two. But now it's up to Loris to get the field going again.
So here we go, riding on board with the Haas driver as he makes his way through Parabolica now. When is he going to go? We've got a penalty for Smully further down the order, but there goes Loris now. Gets the throttle down, and what is his run like compared to everyone else? It's pretty good against the Julian second. We've got a lapped car of the Alpine there, so he's going to have to get out of the way straight away, and the fight will resume at the front of the field. Aero looks like he's trying to look for a move there, either that or just warming tyres as they go 3 wide behind, almost 4 wide with the lap traffic there into the first chicane. There's pandemonium in the shoes once again on the restart, and that's is that Shadow? That is Shadow. Shadow cutting across the first chicane there, and luckily for him, not picking up the same penalty that Julian's had. But speaking of Julian, he's side by side with Loris for the race lead now. Loris trying to look for a way through, but he's he's not been able to get it. Sorry, no, that was Julian making the move for the race lead, and Julian retakes P1 in the race once again.
Yeah, Loris with that tire disadvantage couldn't get the restart. Handled all that well as the toe of the Alpine helped Julian, and he just snuck up on Loris out of turn 1. and he's managed to make that move stick. And now all Julian has to do is just to put in fastest lap after fastest lap. And now Aaron has to dispatch that AlphaTauri because he's losing more and more time to Loris and Julian, who are fighting out for the lead. So this is valuable time for Aaron, as now Aero is actually making his own moves. I think he's gonna make his own moves for P3 or P4 of the race, but he has got a 3-second time penalty that's gonna disadvantage him.
Yeah, he's just picked that up on this lap. Meanwhile, side by side ahead, here comes Paul Aron trying to make that move. We saw he was not best pleased with the AlphaTauri coming out the pits ahead of him, and he's immediately going to get straight back past into the first chicane now on his second try, shall we say, and gets back up into P3 in this race. Meanwhile, action going on further down the order. It's that was Flevo and Blundy, I think, fighting it out there for this sixth position in the race, and that looks like Aero trying to look for a move. Not quite going to be able to find a way through in the AlphaTauri yet, but no, he is on the outside of turn 5. That is not something that you see every day, and Aero makes use of the medium tyres. It was terrible traction for Snipper there, as terrible traction for his teammate as well. Flevo gets a huge snap of oversteer on the exit of Lesmo 1, and that's going to massively hold up Maxcon, who's sort of been brake checked there, and is now going to be vulnerable to the two Red Bulls behind.
Yeah, and Aaron's now chasing the top two because Loris seems to be ever slower on those old hards, and look at that, Aaron's already 4/10s within Loris, and DRS is not going to be on for this lap, it's going to be on next lap, so I think he's going to get that help from Loris. Obviously, Loris, look at how slow Loris is in Parabolica. Aaron's already within 2/10s. He's going to get that toe down the straight, and I don't see why a move into turn 1 wouldn't happen, as now here they come across the line. It's going to be Arrow side by side, and now he's going to go deep into turn 1 and make that move.
Loris fights it back though. Loris is going to stay ahead, so weren't expecting that really. I suppose they are both on hard tyres, albeit Loris is much older than Aaron's behind, but Paul is going to try and fight that back around the outside of Curva Grande. Loris is really making him work for this position here as they head towards the Lrc chicane. Now into the picture they come, and it is the McLaren who enters frame first, and Paul Aron is now ahead of Loris with a very daring move there, and Loris is, well, I don't think he was really expecting that when he tried to close the door on the exit and round the outside of Curva Grande, but Paul Aron was having none of it, just drove straight round the outside of him anyway, very much a la Sebastian Vettel and Fernando Alonso back in 2011, and yeah, it is the McLaren who gets the move done. Very nice job by him.
Yeah, and now Loris has DRS, so he has the chance to get back at Aaron, and maybe Aaron's gonna push him right onto the grass this time. Yeah, and Arrow is now ever closer because of the both of them battling. So Arrow could be in contention for a podium here. It's 3/10 separating Arrow and Loris, and Loris is gonna get disadvantaged by how far away Aaron is from him. That slipstream's not gonna work as well as it is for Arrow. But Arrow's not going to make a move into turn 1 just yet. He's looking down. He's looking down the inside. He's sizing up Loris, but he's not making anything yet.
Contact further behind as yeah, it's one of the AlphaTauris and Blundy making contact there, and Maxcon's actually going to get through as a result of that. It's a really poor exit for Blundy after the collision, and well, he's dropped down to P8 now, and now we have the two Red Bulls going side by side. It's Saul Goodman and Jarmin into turns 4 and 5 as deep goes Blundy in the distance, and now contact between the two Red Bulls as they're fighting it out for P10 in this race. Shadow's going to try and get involved now as well. It's all kicking off down at the Lrc chicane. It's a very tight and tricky corner, and that is immediately caught out Saul Goodman there, who was skating across the gravel, and I wonder if there was any damage for his teammate Jarmin, who looked like drove into the side of him, as now Jarmin is going to go for the move on the inside and gets the move done through Seraglio, and it's going to be up into P8 in the race, so nicely done by him, as Blundy is now going to have to fight tooth and nail to try and hold on to that P9 position that he's in now from Shadow behind, who is still looking to try and make more progress in this race.
Yeah, those two Red Bulls broke the first rule of Formula 1, never make contact with your teammate. And now
here goes Shadow
looking ever fast. And here comes Shadow down the inside, side by side into the Parabolica. Well done by Shadow. And now he's going to flick off that DRS switch, and he's going to be sizing up Jarman for a move right here. Down the inside, I think is going to be his choice, and down he goes, past the Red Bull, and Blondie's going to be eager to make that same move, and Blondie makes that move as well, jumps up on the curb, but he does make that move on the exit, nice and tidy from Blondie. Not like last lap where he made contact and had to compensate on the exit and let Max come through. Maxcon is through, but Blondie has now gotten past Jarman, and the two Red Bulls are looking very close again.
Well, so two Alpha Tauris this time, as who are swapping places there, as Flevo gets past his teammate of Snipper there, which is, I'd say, quite a sensible swap. No kind of no drama between the two of them, like we saw down at Red Bull. Just sort of changing places. Of course, with Flevo on the mediums, will be a lot quicker at this stage of the race, as Aero is actually getting quite close to Lrc here. He's not as close as the timing screen was leading us to believe, but he is still hanging right on the back of the Haas driver and looks like not been able to make the move yet, but I think Lrc is going to be out of DRS range this time around, so I think this might just be the chance for Aero now. He's got a good exit by the looks of things. He's got a very good exit compared to Lrc, and Lrc now dives for the pit lane. It is lap 17, so this is the pit window for him, and he is going to come in and hope for the best pit stop possible from his crew, as the fighting is going to continue on behind now between the two Red Bull drivers, who might just be going at it again here into turn 1.
Yeah, it was looking feisty a lap or two ago, but both of the Rebels have got DRS, and now I think they're both just staying away from each other, just letting each other know, yeah, we've got to pass Blondie, otherwise we're going nowhere in this race if we keep fighting. And another team that's fighting is the Alpha Tauris. It's Flevo and Snipper, both side by side into the Lrc chicane. It's Flevo who's ahead just yet, but Snipper's gonna be right behind him with that DRS actually, and behind Snipper is gonna be Maxcon with the DRS as well. So we're gonna see who has the lowest wings, judging by who's gonna be ahead going into the Ascari.
Yeah, it's going to be close here. We'll ride on board with Flevo here. Of course, I mean, they all have the same kind of straight line speed. We are on equal cars here, but can the AlphaTauri try and make any gains on his teammates? Runs a very risky game with the curb there on the inside. I thought for a second he might be going round, but probably has better setups than I do, as he's now going to be, once again, right on the back of his teammate. And I did say I praised them on the previous lap for not fighting, but looks like Snipper is going to be trying to do exactly that and trying to fight, but I suspect he's going to be in the pits this time round. You can see, pulls to the inside, and yes, there he goes into the pit lane, as another one of our hard tyre runners who had started the race on hards is now going to be into the pits. So yeah, that is another one. We should probably check up on where Lrc is. He's come out down in 14th place in the race now, and a long way behind the next car, so he's going to need, you'd imagine, well, is he going to need a safety car? I think he must do, because there's just such a big gap to all of the cars ahead of him. He's going to get up one place to 13th as Sandre. Sandre is just retired from the race. I think that must have been in the pit lane though, because he was already a lap down. So not a good race weekend for our podium finisher last time out. Did finish second place in Zandvoort, but no such luck today, as his teammate now goes off the road, and they go 3 wide on the exit of the Lrc chicane, and a double overtake for Kvyat on a third. Brilliantly done by him in the Ferrari. That'll give the crowd something to cheer about. It's not been the best race for them, but gets up into 10th place. Meanwhile, Shadow fighting it out with Maxcon now on the back straight. Shadow looking very quick in that Mercedes, and before he even gets to Ascari, he's going to get up into P5. So nicely done by the British driver.
And both of them are getting past the blue flag Kimi, who's had a bit of a shocking race, Kimi. I think the safety car didn't help him in any way of the word. And now, Arrow is actually 7/10 or whatever the time machine is going to say, within Aaron here. Now he's 1 second behind. I think Arrow's going to be close enough to come into DRS range in a few laps' time, as now we see Shadow as well, sizing up Flevo here. He's probably gonna make a move in the next few laps, just like Arrow is gonna be shrinking the gap more and more each lap. Obviously, Arrow with the medium tires is gonna be quite a decent chunk faster than Aaron, and if he keeps putting up consistent laps like he usually does, I think we'll see him side by side. And yeah, Shadow's looking ever closer to Flevo here, as I think, yeah, that's Arrow. Yeah, I just got lost on my words. Yeah, that's Arrow. Very close to Aaron here, and he's got the DRS open right now.
Well, the area was a bit further back, so we're going to take a look at Shadow first, as he is going to be a lot closer to the AlphaTauri ahead of him as he heads towards the Ascari chicane, and he actually just heard that, he might have heard, Shadow lifting off on the straight, so not looking to go side by side there, and honestly I have to respect that. That's the kind of sensible driving that keeps you alive in these kind of races, especially at a track like this, and yeah, Shadow's going to play it smart here, and we'll wait for the DRS pass down the main straight, which you would imagine is going to be coming anytime soon. Meanwhile, Aero's dropped back quite a lot from Paul Aron ahead. You can see over a second gap opened up, so there must have been a mistake from Aero somewhere, because he is now way further behind, but somebody who's not far behind at all, Shadow, here he comes now, pulls out to the inside of the AlphaTauri and into turn 1, is going to get the edge with the slightly, well, actually they're on the same compound of tyres, but with, I suppose, maybe higher downforce, or perhaps just the skill advantage. Shadow gets ahead of Flevo and gets up into 4th place, and continues his march up the field, and what's been a very amicable recovery drive so far, as now here comes Maxcon trying to fight it out and see if he can sneak a place up the inside. They bang tyres, him and the AlphaTauri. Flevo comes back onto the track, they bang tyres again on the exit. Flevo says, no, I'm not having none of that, not getting pushed off the track, and they're going to go wheel to wheel through Lesmo 1, and Maxcon around the outside, just like we saw Aero do earlier on in the race, is going to get the move done, but now is going to be, well, immediately vulnerable to, I'd imagine, a not best pleased Flevo, who's going to be looking to make the move back round the outside of Ascari. Are either of them going to yield? No, they're not, and that's going to work out terribly for both of them, as round they go, and oh, a huge accident there, as round a blind corner, so many cars getting collected. I think that was 4 cars, and that is going to be a safety car, surely, and it is. So a huge accident on the exit of Ascari. Well, neither of them wanted to back out. The tensions were brewing there between the two of them, and all of a sudden it's boiled over, and now we have a safety car out with about 6 laps to go in the race.
Now, I'm wondering if anyone's going to bolt on the softs at the end. We've seen this in Baku. Julian and Aaron both opting for the tires they're on right now. Julian's going to be on very worn mediums, and look at that. Pit lane is filling up with cars. I think they are going to go for the soft. It's 6 laps to go, and I mean, Aero is going to be like, why not? Why don't I go for the soft? It's going to be the fastest tire. I'm going to be the fastest car on the track, and look at that. They are bolting on the softs. It's Ghost. It's basically pretty much everyone. And Sol, I think, is getting his front wing replaced there. That's why the pit stop is taking so long. And look at that. Aero is 3rd in the race with fresh, soft tires, which is going to absolutely put him in the prime position for the lead of this race. Aaron has got worn hards, while Julian has got even more worn mediums. And Aero is looking like the car to beat right now.
Well, it has happened once again in LRC, and unfortunately this time comes at the expense of Flevo, and he is going to be out of the race again for a 2nd time in succession, not able to finish a race so far in LRC, but yeah, just him and Maxcon getting a little bit too frosty right here this time last lap, and yeah, that was always going to end pretty terribly. It's such a tight high-speed corner that you just drive round, and if you're confronted by a car, there's not a whole lot that you can do, and unfortunately that has meant that the AlphaTauri of Flevo now out of this race. But what that will mean is a very interesting end to the race, as now the top 2 are into the pits to change tyres, but where is Aero going to be? I don't think he's going to get ahead because they hadn't caught the safety car yet, so Aero, well, he's coming down the main straight now, but already coming out of the pits is Paul Aron there. So now, it was looking like Aero's race to win, but all of a sudden, Paul Aron in the Mercedes, in the McLaren, exits the pits and is ahead of Aero on a set of soft tyres. With Julian, of course, with that 10-second time penalty, but I would have to imagine he's going to be arguing very strongly to get that removed. So it's really anyone's race with, well, it's going to be about 3-4 laps to go once the safety car comes in.
Yeah, it was damn close. I didn't think that Aero would have lost so much time under the safety car, but I guess he was. And obviously the softs weren't warmed up, so he couldn't drive fast enough to catch up to Julian and Aero. And maybe actually, I think they were under Delta, so
yeah, they would have been.
Exceed a certain time, and yeah, that's why he didn't catch up. So very unlucky for Aero, but it's going to be looking like a 3-lapper to the end here, as everyone's going to be looking to catch up with the pack. Bablo and Kimi both are going to be struggling to catch up as well. They're about 40 seconds behind or 20 seconds behind as one of the Ferraris retires. It's Kvyat Bona, and yeah, it's just like an absolute shocking race for Ferrari today.
Yeah, no idea what happened to Kvyat Bona there. Just, I mean, I'm going to see if I can flick through and see what happened, but I think everybody's already gone past him, so yeah, no idea. If he might have just crashed into the safety car there, done a bit of a George Russell, and either way, out of the race now, which, yeah, unfortunately leaves Cooper the only Ferrari driver left in the race, but we are going to go for one more lap under the safety car. And I would imagine at the end of this one, it will be getting underway with yet another sprint race style finish. As well, we pretty much get them every race now in LRC, don't we? We had one in Zandvoort. I think we had one in Belgium, and then one in Austria. So one in Silverstone as well. We get them all the time, apparently.
I mean, I'm not complaining.
Yeah.
Get to see basically all out racing with low fuel in the car, basically running qualifying trim at the end of the race here, as now once again everyone's looking to come back to the pack. It's Pablo and Kimi both 40 seconds behind, but I think the safety car is not going to wait for them this lap. I think it's going to straight up just go turn the lights off and just say safety car in this lap. If you haven't caught up, then it's a shame, but yeah, the show must go on, and Julian is going to be the one leading it.
Yeah, Kimi, unfortunately, a lap down, so no chance for him really to recover in this race. As we know, the safety car mechanics are not the best on these games, so his race is pretty much done for at this point, and he's just going to be hoping that there's a 5-car pile-up so he can get points by default. But yeah, we won't hope for that, shall we say? We're going to hope for some good racing towards the end, and I tell you what, I will just remind you again of the other consistent theme that we see in LRC, and that is photo finishes. And with it being Monza, the home of the closest finish in F1 history, we might just be about to see yet another one of those, so would not decline that either. So here we go then, the safety car actually going to stay up for one more lap then, so it's going to be 2 laps to the finish then, I believe. Yeah, it'll be 2 laps because it'll be lap 26 once they actually do get going. So this is going to be a literal sprint race, only 2 laps of racing for everyone to try and make up as many places as they can. I was going to say it was perfect for someone like Lrc, who really needed a safety car in this race, but he needed it to come a lot earlier because he's trapped down in 11th place with a 3-second time penalty. There is effectively not going to be a whole lot that he can really do at this point in the race, and well, he's just going to have to hope that it goes wrong for everyone ahead of him.
Yeah, but that is weird. You usually never see the safety car come out. Stay out for this long, and even if the back markers haven't caught up yet, I think the safety car usually comes in 3 laps before the end, so shortens the racing for a bit. It's looking like the actual 2022 race in Monza, where we're not gonna hope is gonna finish under safety car conditions. But yeah, I think Kimi's gap is actually getting ever bigger here. I've no idea what's happening.
He's a lap down. He's a lap down. That's why. So he's just trapped at the back of the queue, and he can't unlap himself because the game is very, very well made.
Yeah, that's really unfortunate for Kimi. Usually when you're back of the pack, you just get automatically unlapped, even though you are lapped. I think it just magically removes that time from you. But yeah, Paulo slotted in, but Kimi unfortunately can't do the same.
But we will be getting ready now, surely. I'm hoping that the safety car is about to switch its lights off, so keep a close eye, and there it is. Off go the lights, and we are going to get ourselves ready for what is going to be about well, about 2.5 minutes of the most frantic racing action you're ever going to see. No DRS here. We've not going to have any time for that, so it's going to have to be basically whoever's got the lowest downforce setup in that top 4 or 5 is going to be, well, potentially the victor, potentially not. Who knows? It's a very close and tight track here. at Monza, we've already seen what that can do in this race, and it will be Julian once again. He told me in the interviews last time that he likes to go quite early, so we'll have to keep an eye on it again. Is he going to do the same and go before the final corner? Yes, he is, so there he goes. Has he been able to catch people out this time like he was able to do in Zandvoort? Yes, he has, so gets a brilliant gap on the restart, and Julian is going to be looking quite clear, at least for these first few corners. It's Paul Aron's been able to go with him a little bit, and Aero has really lost out there because he's now got the Alpha Tauri of Snipper right on the back of him, but not close enough to make a move into turn 1, is he? No. Is anyone going to be close enough to make a move? The field quite spread out on the restart here, and it looks like there won't... Oh no, there is a few towards the back of the field, and people looking for places, but everyone holds position for the time being. But with only a lap and a half left to go in this race, I doubt that's going to stay the same for long.
Yeah, and the turn 1 looked quite a bit cleaner than it did on lap 1. All the cars proceeding through safely, some moves being made. I think one of the moves with the Alfa Romeo, and there you go. Well, that's one move. I think that's someone sending it. I think that's Lrc on Racer. And now they're side once again into the left mode. And
yeah,
the
McLaren
has gone back.
Lrc had to give the place back, unfortunately, because he did cut the corner on the inside, but it is still Julian leading the way, so he's not, no matter what happens, he's not going to be gifted the race win by the game. But, well, unfortunately, I think that is going to mean we're going to have to wait and see what the stewards decide about that. I would imagine he's going to get that penalty removed, because it's not like he gained a whole lot. He was sort of forced to cut the chicane at the start of the lap. And Kinney has now... Oh no, Kinney's retired from the session. Of course, he can't really do anything beyond this point in the races. We've got side-by-side now into Parabolica. It's fighting between the Alfa Romeo and the Alpine as a switchback comes in from Ghost there and gets back ahead of Bablouf, trying to fight it out for the lower end of the points here. Quite a lot of penalties for those guys, so it looks like Stoll is going to be actually able to get ahead of Lrc and get back into the points. But is anyone going to be able to go close enough to make a move? It's Paul Aron. He's closing in. He's got the fastest lap of the race, but he's not close enough yet to go for an overtake.
Yeah, it was about a 10th going into turn 1.
Oh, it's Lrc spun.
Paul Aron. Oh, Lrc
spun. On the exit of turn 2, he was not. It wasn't looking like he was going to get points anyway, but on the exit of turn 2, Lrc, who is second place, I believe, in the championship, spins out, and that is not going to do him any favours. Meanwhile, his rivals, Julian, and, well, to be honest, I think Julian's the only main one, really, is going to be leading his way in towards the final few corners of this race now. There's going to be no challenge from Paul Aron. So Paul Aron, it looks like, if he can make it through cleanly, will be credited with the race win by the game, but it will be Julian taking the win on track.
Yeah, Julian with a 10-second time penalty, very unfortunate, but it's Julian dashing towards Parabolica right now, as Aero couldn't make any inroads towards the last corner of the track. Now it's Julian towards the line.
And Julian will win the Italian Grand Prix here in Monza, and it was quite close over the line, but yeah, we're going to have to wait and see what the decision is as Maxcon smashes his front wing off over the line, and quite a calm end to the race, all things considered. The restart from Julian really changed things, but look at the penalties. Blundy is going to get up into second place, and I tell you what, it's not even going to be Paul Aron who's going to get second, because he drops to third place. Shadow jumps up into second. Well, first on the road. The game's going to credit him with P1, Blundy's going to be credited with P2, Paul Aron with P3, and, well, Julian with P8, but honestly, I have no idea how to call this one because, well, there's just so many penalties, but, yeah, Julian, your race winner on the track, Shadow, your race winner as dictated by the game.
Yeah, Shadow, I haven't even kept an eye on Shadow, and he just jumps up into P1 out of nowhere. So, yeah, we'll have a look at it, but for now, it's going to be Shadow, Blondie, and Aron, your top 3 for today, and if any tickets get made, or if the race result gets changed, we'll let you know.
So Julian crosses the line first, but Shadow, from the penalties, will take, well, you'd imagine at least second place, but the game is going to give him, going to award him with the race win, so whether he gets given this P1 or not, very, very good drive to him, because he was able to recover from being down in 16th place earlier on in this race to spin on lap 2 and makes a brilliant recovery drive to take the top step of the podium.